Hey everyone.
Morning.
Hello. Did you guys miss us yesterday? We missed you guys.
It was a fishbone's fault.
Yeah. Abraham, my son, my 17-year-old, was eating sway fish and tilapia that David cooked for dinner yesterday. And he swallowed a fish bone, and it kind of got stuck in his throat. And it was hard for him to swallow. He was in pain. So we had to rush him to the ER to see what they can really do. They did an x-ray. They saw that nothing was...
Blocking.
Yeah, nothing was like interrupting his airway or nothing like that. The bone was really, really thin and small, so it's not like it was really, really big. That's why he missed it. And they just gave him some medicine and stuff and told him he's just gonna have to, obviously the natural acids and everything eventually was just gonna
break it down.
It was gonna break it down and have to go down. So he told me this morning, he goes, Mom, I was up a lot because of this thing, you know. But he feels better today. But you know, it was something that it worried me at the moment because he was breathing very lightly and he couldn't swallow, so that kind of worried me. And by the time we got home, guys, it was kind of really late to do a devotional. Yeah.
So just because you buy a fillet fish boneless, you know, still
be careful because these were fillets and
we've bought fish all the time.
All the time. Same ones too.
We cook fish a lot, but for some reason this one had a bone. So you can never be too careful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's why we didn't do a devotional. Today is now Monday for us, Tuesday for you.
Amen.
My mom safely got back. She was in Texas last week, so she got back today. What else has happened?
Amazing day at church yesterday with our families. We had our weigh-in, our first weigh-in.
Yeah, we have a weight loss challenge going on at the church. And you win by percentage because you can't go by who wins the most weight loss because some people are heavier than others, and it's the bigger you are, the easier it is to drop. So it's going by percentage compared to your weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of I feel like it was kind of not as competitive because we all weighed in 2 weeks ago, but then yesterday when everybody weighed in, I think now
it's getting real.
Now it's on and cracking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's some competitiveness that came up now. So
yeah, I kind of like it, you know, because I feel that, you know, I don't know if I had told you guys, but I've already been off my medications for 1.5 months exactly. I remember I walked into that doctor's office and I had already made a choice. I had already prayed about it and I had told David, I'm ready to get off of the seizure meds, get off of the brain meds, get off of everything, and I just want nothing. So when I went into the doctor's, I think he took it as quite a surprise when I just told him, I don't want anything anymore. I don't want to take anything anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I said, if anything, we're going to start all over, and you are going to just send me to the new specialist that I got to go to and whatever needs to be done so that we can get accurate readings of everything. Because my thing is to eventually not have a third brain surgery, not be taking stuff that I don't need to take. And so what this weight loss challenge did for me, I don't know about you, but for me, it's not, I love being competitive, I do. But at the same time, it has made me become so alert and mindful of my body now. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's not even just about the weight loss for me. For me, it's about really getting myself, my autoimmune healthy, my neurological stuff in order, and just the right nutrition that's going to help me not go through pain and not go through anything now that I'm off of all this medication. I think I had a time to detox that medication, and now it's time to detox all the gunk and all the stuff out of my body with the right nutrition. So I've been doing really good with the things that I'm eating. And I have actually felt better already for going on maybe 4 days that I have felt no pain at all. And it feels so good. I'm feeling so good about this. Really, really, really excited and optimistic about it. What about you? What new things has it?
No, me just getting back on track. I mean, you guys know I had weight loss surgery, I think 3 years ago now. 3 years ago, I'd lost 100 pounds. Got into cycling, as you guys probably know that. When I have a membership, I love going to the gym. So for me, it's just the winter is hard because up Northern California it gets cold to ride a bike because it's not fun when you can't feel your toes or can't feel your hands, you know. And as much as I would love to cycle all year long, like a lot of the cyclists do in Southern California, it's always nice weather. They cycle all year long, but here you can't do it. I mean, you can, but it's a little harder. So, because at the time we didn't have a gym membership when winter started, and then I couldn't cycle because it was cold, and then the holidays and the food.
And then we got busy with the church.
Yeah, so.
But that was a lot of exercise for you too there.
Yeah, so my weight did creep up about 23, 25 pounds, which is a lot after weight loss surgery, you know. And one good thing about it is that it doesn't fluctuate too much because, you know, you only have so big of a stomach, you know. I had the sleeve surgery done.
Yeah, I've gained about 20... I think I've gained about 24 pounds as well, you know, but
yeah. But now we're back with the gym membership. I cycled and I got the bikes out. Eating better, you know, eating smarter.
Yeah.
I can't eat too much. We can't eat too much because of the surgery, but you still got to be smart on the things you do choose to eat. And I've been eating a lot smarter. I kind of went back to the maintenance stage of surgery, post-op surgery, and I feel great, you know.
I didn't decide to go that route. I decided to go a route where I have did a process of elimination pretty much of everything except for protein and water, protein and any types of water, and you know, using some MCT oil, which is, you know, derived from almonds and stuff like that. But I'm excited about it, you know, because like I said, I just want to feel better and feel that energy once again to be able to get back to normal and avoid having that. So, but I do want to give a shout out to Reina. You guys will see her comments on here at times.
Yeah.
She ended up being our number one, our top person when we weighed in on Sunday.
Because every 2 weeks we're weighing in for
the next 90 days.
Yeah.
So she was, she's in lead, which is Reina, and then Sandra or Orabuena and myself are in second place because we're tied. Here, that's the thing, we're tied. And then Crystal Thedford is actually in third place. So those are the top three. Yeah. And so, you know, we're kind of excited. I think percentage wise, you know, we did really, really good. And all together, all of us in just the first 2 weeks.
Which is how many?
55.20 pounds, I believe.
How many people though? Roughly. You don't be exact.
It's 16 people.
Yeah.
So in between 16, and wait a minute, not everybody weighed in though. There was a few people missing. There was like 4 people missing. So just maybe about 12 people weighed in on Sunday, and 55.2 pounds. Collectively. Which is pretty awesome, you guys. Yeah. It really was.
All right.
So, but that's all that's happened. That's the excitement here.
I wanted to talk about a Bible verse that is really straightforward, in the words of Jesus, in Matthew 24:35. A really short verse, but I wanted to talk about it because I think that by understanding what this verse is really truly saying, it says a lot, and it's a faith builder. Sometimes people don't have enough faith.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we shine on verses or things that Jesus said, it builds faith. You know, it builds faith in us. It builds faith in whoever's watching this. And that's what we want to do, is build your faith. You know? So I'm just going to read it. Matthew 24:35, Jesus says this: heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will by no means pass away.
24:35 or 25:35?
Exactly what I told you, 24:35.
Oh. I don't know where to start it here because it's all clumped up together.
Oh, I see.
So it is with you when you see all these things?
No,
It's completely different here.
no, right here.
I'm not saying this for some future
No,
generation.
this age continues.
Okay.
There, yeah, that's it. That's
Okay.
this age, that sentence.
This age continues until all these things take place. Sky and earth will wear out. My words won't wear out. And that's in the Message Bible.
Yeah. You know, so for Jesus to say something, right? Because he's talking about, actually, the whole context of what he's talking about. He's talking about the end of the world. He's talking about the way the world is and things that are happening and all of this stuff. But he says something very profound at the end. He goes, listen, guys, I know these things make you nervous. I know these things scare you. But you know what? Heaven and earth will pass away. He's talking about the sky.
Yeah.
Because at that time, there was a word in Greek where they would actually, they believed that the sky was the first heaven, our atmosphere. Mm-hmm. The second heaven was space. And the third heaven was where heaven is at. Mm. So Jesus is saying, listen, this earth is going to pass away.
Yeah.
But my words will never pass away. You know, and the reason I say that this is a faith-building verse, even though it's simple, is because how many of you have had somebody promise something to you and had that promise broken?
Yeah, many times.
How many times has somebody said something to you and they betray you?
Oh, yeah.
How many times has somebody said, you can count on me, and you count on them and they drop the ball? Right? So
yeah.
I think we get so used to it that we actually sometimes lose faith in humanity. We lose faith in friends. We lose faith in family. We lose faith in everybody around us. You know, those of you that have kids old enough that are adults, even your kids let you down. Even your kids hurt your feelings. And we do the same thing back, you know?
I think what I lose is the trust.
Yeah.
The trust, but I think I still have faith that maybe there's somebody out there that will, you know, follow through with things. But
yeah. And it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It is.
But for the most part, we've all had letdowns. We've all had betrayals. We've all been let down. We've all had promises break. All of us. And this is how they felt at the time of Jesus. And he says something so profound. He goes, listen, everything I say to you is going to happen as I say it. Everything I promise you is going to be given as I say it. Everything I talk about your future and your plans, it is golden. And I think, and he wanted to articulate something powerful. He goes, hold on. Heaven and earth are going to pass away, but my words won't.
Will never.
My words hold water.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but that gives me hope.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's been times of brokenness where he's promised me things. There's times where he has spoken things into my life. And sometimes life doesn't look like it's going to work out. And I got to remember, yeah, these situations are going to pass away. This is going to pass away. The earth is going to pass away. But Jesus says, yeah, my words will never pass.
Amen.
His words are forever. You know, and I preach that a lot. I'm like, if God promised you something, raise your hand. Remember a few times people raise their hand. Mm-hmm. I said, I want to tell you something, remind you something. Is that God doesn't forget. The Bible says that he's not a man that he doesn't lie.
Yeah.
If he said it, he said it, and no demon in hell can stop the promise of God.
Yeah. And if we take it into our own hands to lean on our own understanding and to make things happen on our own, then it's almost like not trusting God and calling him a liar.
Yeah.
And that's pretty heavy, to think that, you know what, Lord, I believe you can do it, but let me help you. Yeah. Could you believe that? Like, it's like, let me help you because I don't think you could do it all the way, maybe just a little bit, but I need to help you. He doesn't need our help.
Well, it's funny because the father of faith is Abraham. Abraham was an old patriarch in the Bible. Out of Abraham came later on the nation of Israel. And God gave him a promise. Mm-hmm. But Abraham was an old man.
Yeah.
And his wife was old. Matter of fact, she was so old, she was barren. She couldn't even have kids. She had never had children. And now, not only was she barren, couldn't have kids, but now she was an old lady with no children. Yeah. And all of a sudden, God says, hey, I need you to leave your family and move. I'm taking to the land that I'm going to promise to you. There's that word promise, because he doesn't break promises. He goes, and out of you, I will make a great nation. And he goes, matter of fact, because his name was Abram, he goes, I'm going to change your name to Abraham, which actually that name meant the father of many.
Yeah, father of all nations.
Yeah, father of all nations. So can you imagine? You can't have kids. You're an old man. Your wife can't have kids. And God says, yeah, I'm going to call you a father of many. That doesn't make any sense. But, he had faith. He had faith for his own understanding.
I don't think he had faith. I don't think he had faith like that.
He up and left. So he had faith.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
He up to that point. But as to the part where, because when I was reading through the the story of Abraham at that time, and then Abraham, it took God 5 times to have to remind him of what was for him.
Yeah, what he promised them.
And yet then did not communicate, did not stand his ground and say, this is what God has promised us. Let's not move, So when, of course, when Sarah came and
that's his wife.
The wife.
You got to be descriptive.
Yes, when Sarah, the wife, was barren for so long, after those 5 times, she comes and asks her servant Hagar to give birth to a child for her. But yet then I feel that if Abraham would have stood his ground and say, like, no, we're going to stand on God's promise because this is what he promised, then she would have never had made that decision.
But they went on their own understanding.
They did. And that's why I feel like God had so much mercy on them and compassion on Hagar, Yeah. So I believe that's why there was great rewards on both ends,
that'd be crazy. That'd be like you married to somebody and one of you are sterile, one of you can't have children, and all of a sudden God tells you in a dream, you're going to have a baby. I'm going to give you a son, or I'm going to give you a daughter. So you wake up and you're like, man, God promised me this, but since my spouse is sterile, but there's somebody flirting at work, maybe that's how God's going to give me a child. And then you go on your own understanding, you go and do something you shouldn't have, you get pregnant, or you get her pregnant now, and now you're like, God promised it, and God's like, wait, that's not what I told you.
But you know what, that's such a beautiful story of redemption though as well, because here's the thing, that even though things turned out the way they turned out, God stood still on his promise, regardless of how they messed things up and what they did and everything. If God said he's gonna do it, he's gonna do it. Mm-hmm. He's gonna do it. And we have to remember that.
Exactly. I mean, even as a pastor, I think some pastors, unfortunately, take it the wrong way when they get a prophetic word, or somebody tells them, or they get a vision or whatever, where God says, I'm going to use you to reach multitudes of people, right? So no matter what, I have seen so many, especially televangelists, that I know their stories, their backstories. They started in a humble way. They started powerful, and they go and they preach, and people flock to accept Christ, or people flock and get healed and all this and that. And trust me, it's not always fake. But then the scandal comes out that this person was involved in this or that, so people think it was fake. No, I'm telling you, the healing was real. The salvations were real. But a lot of times what happens is just because the speaker isn't right doesn't mean the word doesn't come forth. He says, through you, I will heal multitudes, and multitudes will come to me. But just because you were the spokesman of it, he still fulfilled his promise. But if you aren't living right, you're not going to receive the promise yourself. You got to remember something. Moses did not enter into the promised land.
Yeah, he didn't.
Yet he was promised it.
Yeah.
So,
only 2 entered into the promised land.
Yeah. So we want to always hold on to the promises of God.
Amen.
If God has promised you something for your children, your grandchildren, don't disqualify yourself from that promise, because God's still going to do it regardless.
And don't get angry at God when, you feel that promise isn't being fulfilled. And if God decides to give that opportunity to someone else to do something that he's asked you to do, and, we've said it before, he'll move on to the next person that wants to do something, And a lot of the times we get a little upset, or we get a little resentful, thinking, man, I was supposed to be doing that. That was my promise, I was supposed to do that. But the thing is that sometimes we don't act on it when God's saying, here it is, act on it. And we don't, because we don't see it. And I really think that's what happened with Moses, when, at the burning bush and everything. It's like, even though he told him he was not going to go see the promised land, but yet then he continued to journey and continue to lead the Israelites, And I think that's what was really, really cool, because sometimes we got to be careful with where our heart is, because that means that our heart wasn't there in the first place. Our intentions were not right in the first place. So be very careful with that as because God knows all, so that's important.
I was gonna say that something about the promises, that when he gives us promises, and we don't hold on to them. This is what I was saying. My mom got saved, I was 5. My dad got saved when I was 8, 3 years later. I got very rebellious in my teenage years. And I remember my mom telling me, no, when you were 5, David, I gave you to the Lord. I gave you to the Lord. And as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord. That's a verse she always said. But I rejected God as a teenager. 10 years, so let's say I was 12. I rejected God for 10 years. I'm 22 now. I continued to reject God. And then I was 32. And it took until I was 32 years old for me to surrender to God. Already in prison with the prison sentence. My mom's heart was broken, but the promise happened. My mom didn't receive her promise that I would serve God when I was 14, 15, 16, 20, 25, 30. It happened when I was 32, and even then it was through pain and suffering. Yeah. But nevertheless, the promise was fulfilled. My mom said, my sons are going to serve God. I had an aunt that would always minister to me. She said, you're going to come. You're going to serve him. And when I was in prison, she died. I never got to worship with her, ever. Never. But she knew I was serving God in prison. I remember I was told, literally on her deathbed, that, because it took me 2 years and some change to get baptized, because in county jail they didn't do baptisms, and I wanted to be baptized in water so bad, and finally I went to Terminal Island. I had to go through red tape and get this pastor to come in. Anyways, I got the date when I was going to be baptized. It was, I want to say 2 or 3 days before she passed, and she was there, just laying there, when I was told she couldn't eat, she wouldn't make any motions. She was just laying there, and they were just trying to get some kind of reaction from her. Mm-hmm. And she woke for a little bit, and I was told that they told her, they said, David's going to get baptized. Wow. And she smiled. smiled, you know what I mean? And she passed, you know? And so when I stepped into the waters of baptism, you know, that's what was on my mind. Because she said, and I was a little boy, you are going to serve God. So the promises that people hold on to sometimes take years.
You know,
but his words never pass.
You know, now that you shared that, you know, a lot of the times promises don't always come in the way that we think that they're going to come.
Yeah, that's another thing.
And I will share this, you know, my son Abraham was so very close to his father when he was a little boy. I mean, he was a daddy's little boy, just constantly always with him and everything. And then all of a sudden, he disappeared. We didn't know if he was dead or alive. We didn't know anything. And, you know, then we found that he was fine. And he started communicating with him, and he'd make these promises to him. He'd always make these promises to him, but he'd keep breaking his heart. After so long of being away from him, he would break his heart, and he thought, like, you know, well, my dad said he was going to do this, my dad, and I'd be like, I know, baby, you know, he's going to do it, and I'm like, but, and I said, if he doesn't, it's okay. And he'd be like, no, he's going to do it, he's going to come get me, he's going to see me, he's going to this. And he longed for a dad so badly, so badly. And I would tell him, God's going to give you your dad. He's going to give you a dad, you know? And so after so long of empty promises, I never had to tell my son, oh, your dad is not a good dad, or your dad is this, or any of that, because a lot of times people can poison people's minds, you know, or whatever, and I didn't want to do that to him. So I kind of noticed he started to see the broken promises on his own. And he went through a moment where he just kind of felt like, my dad doesn't love me, my dad doesn't call me, he doesn't care, or any of that. But I told him, you're gonna have a dad. And you know what? He doesn't even acknowledge him, but he acknowledges you as dad. You know, and that's something that he's never, ever had. You know, and that's a big deal, because sometimes we don't realize the way God's gonna bless us. We don't realize, you know, how he's gonna keep that promise. He promised that little boy a dad, and he looks up to you as a dad. You know, so that's another thing. I think a lot of the times we expect the promises to be done the way we feel it's going to be done, but see, it may go through a whole process just to become God's promise in a whole different sense that we don't even realize. But we got to be spiritually alert and ready to know it, to discern it, to know this is from God. You know,
a lot of times God, he sees the bigger picture than what we see.
Yeah.
And he sees the true intentions than what we see, you know? So somebody's like, you could be frustrated because you're dating someone, and you were told that you're going to get a man or woman of God, and this person you're with is acting nothing like what, you know, and you're trying to force them into following God, but maybe they never are, and God is preparing somebody else. You know, but you're wasting your time in this, you know? I'm talking with people that are dating.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about married couples. That's a whole different ballgame, you know? But sometimes, again, you know, you want to force that person, you know? And God's like, what are you doing? You know, what are you doing? You're going in a direction I never intended for you to go.
Yeah. I think that happens also with the people we hang out with, and just our environments that
friends,
we put ourselves in, and everything. Exactly. I think sometimes we're still so young-minded in the things of Christ and everything, that we don't see that God is trying to promise you a better life and a better, you know, environment, a better everything for your life. But then you continue surrounding yourself with the things that are not good for you. And God's like, well, how can I give you all these blessings if you're putting that wall and blocking it from happening? You know, because you still want to not see what it is that I'm trying to give you. We got to be able to see clearly what he was wanting to give us. We have to be able, and you can only do that by, reading our word, by staying in prayer, and by constantly just understanding what it is that God, and asking him, God, what do you want for me? Show me,
Yeah.
Show me. I think it's so, so important. So, yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So we pray that you have a good day.
Yes, a beautiful day, guys.
And we will see you tomorrow. As long as Abraham don't eat no bones.
Don't feed him any.
I didn't. I'm going to puree his fish next time.
Ew, that's gross.
You can drink it.
No. I made bone marrow broth today. Beef bone marrow broth. And I added some stuff in there. And the guys actually really liked it. You liked it, huh?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Is there more?
Yeah, there is more.
I'm getting hungry.
So, it's so nutritious. You guys should eat some. It's grass-fed beef bone marrow. It's really, really good for you. I was reading, I was doing some research on it to see what it's really, truly good for, and even for people with diabetes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's good for people with diabetes. It's like a natural, thing. And even if you make some broth and you have a little cup here and there, the nutrients that you're going to get out of there, it helps a lot.
Is it Muppet safe? Because I don't know if Johnny could ever have that.
Sorry, Johnny. It's been a while since he's actually said it. But you guys, we love you, and we'll see you later. And I think all the people that just even take the time to message. Sister Christy, thank you for messaging me. Sister Phyllis, and a few other people, and I'm just really grateful. I did decide finally, though, I'm going to be doing the Bible studies. There's just no way. There's too many people that are so far away. I have some New York, and then we have Texas, and then we have, I think, Oregon. We have different places, and everybody's schedule is so different for the women's Bible study. So the 7 women that I'm going to be dealing with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the best time to speak to you and be able to do it one-on-one. And I think it'll be great because it gives me an opportunity to spend some time with you, and it gives me the opportunity to get to know you and you to get to know me, and do this Bible study together. Because once you do this Bible study, I really feel that you're going to want to do it with other women as well.
Uh-huh.
You can do it with other women in your little area, and other women at your workplace, your daughters, whoever wants to do it, you'll be able to sit down and do this with them as well. So I really want to do them one-on-one. If you get this message, you're watching this, please message me and let me know what time is good for you. Send it to the Women of God at HORC@gmail.com. Okay, so that's my Bible study email. So that way I know when it
is on a countdown for pre-orders. So if you go to the website www.houseofrestchurch.com, you can pre-order the book for a signed one. If you don't want a signed one, that's fine.
You can just wait. You can just wait till it's available.
It'll be available February 9th.
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, all of them, Kindle, everything. Also, you guys, he's still doing paintings. So if there's paintings,
you just see the one I'm doing right now.
Yeah, there's 2 of them that he's working on, and he's still doing paintings. As you guys know, this is what really, really helps us, so that we can continue doing, full-time ministry. I have other little things that I have going on. I have a little online closet where I sell some clothes and stuff. So that's another thing that I do. But, he's still doing paintings, guys. And that if there's something that you want painted, please, reach out to us and let us know. I realized the other day how important it was. We had somebody new come into the church, and she filled out one of our visitor cards, and I did the follow-up. And then I had one of the other women as well follow up with her. And I told her, listen, we're available at any time. You can call me personally. This is my cell phone number. And, she did call. She called, and her uncle was her uncle was on his last few breaths, and they said that he wasn't going to make it through the night. And we were able to stop and just be able to minister and be able to just to pray with her and stuff. And this is what's important to us, being available and being able to do these things. But unfortunately, if we get boggled down with so much, then, and that has not to do with ministry, then it makes it hard for us to be able to do that. So when you guys do commission for a painting, or whether it be a t-shirt here or there, or just anything, that's helpful to us. It's very, very helpful. It's so, just reach out to us if there's anything that we can do for you.
Cool.
All right.
All right, guys.
See you later.